How does a human being go from having no customers and no experience in video to becoming the highest rated business teacher on the biggest online course platform in the world in only 2 years? I've taken 2 years to bring 2 deck chairs into the house. How does a person grow from 0 students to 500,000 students in 24 months? All the more remarkable when you think about the fact that being pretty good with video is the only way to succeed on this platform. What you're about to hear is an astonishing story because it has nothing to do with technology and everything to do with following your heart. Honestly, you're in for a real treat. I'm so pleased to introduce you to my friend and Udemy's most passionate teacher, Mr. Chris Haroun. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Washer, and welcome to the Visible Authority, and welcome to this very special edition of the Visible Authority. And I have my friend Chris Haroun with me this afternoon. I'm really excited. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how are you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm excited to have you with me. I haven't done I do these interviews very, very rarely,
Right.
but this is one of those special times. And I just want to say a couple of words about Chris here. If you guys don't know who Chris is, he's an award-winning MBA professor who's a top-selling online business author, a top-selling book author, former Goldman Sachs employee. We won't hold that against you, Chris. Columbia MBA and venture capitalist who's invested and sat on the boards of many a company. And coincidentally, he is also the author of the #1 best-selling business course on Udemy and soon to be probably #1 video course on Udemy. Welcome, Chris.
Steve, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to be on your webcast here. And I just want to say, before I met you, my backdrop and the filming quality of my studio was awful. And so I just want to sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me with this. I've learned so much partnering with you. Thank you. And I knew the first time I saw you online, actually, do you mind if I talk about how I found out about you?
Okay,
All
sure.
right, sure. So what I did was I was trying to get a green screen to work in my studio, and it was so complicated I couldn't figure it out. And I went onto YouTube and I searched green screen, and I watched a gazillion videos, and I got even more confused. And there's only one person that figured it out and was able to teach a complex topic in a simplistic way that anybody can do it, and that was you. And so I reached out to Steve after watching that video. I think it was in January of this year. And Steve responded, and obviously very, very nice. We talked on the phone. He gave me more advice, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, who's this guy giving me all this advice for free? This is incredible!" And I thought I want to partner with him and teach a course online about videography and audio quality and all that good stuff. And I wish you could show your viewers somehow what the quality of my studio looked like before. But anyway, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, sure, it's every bit my pleasure. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because your story is so interesting, and I wanted you to be able to share as much of it as you would like to share.
Sure.
Um, and I thought, it would be fun to just sort of start from not from the very beginning, but because what you've done on Udemy is so extraordinary, really, that it made me wonder, what was your life like before Udemy? I mean, before you
Right.
found out about online courses,
Yeah.
online education, what was your life like? What were you doing?
Yeah. So I started many companies, started a hedge fund, venture capital firm. I worked on Wall Street. I worked in the consulting sector and hedge fund sector, and I just wasn't happy. And I couldn't figure it out. Every time I switched careers or joined a new company, I was happiest in the first day. And I thought, is there something wrong with me? And then I realized that I'd made a couple of big mistakes in life. The biggest one was chasing money. And I read this book by the Dalai Lama called The Art of Happiness. And he said the problem with Western society is we spend, our entire lives, or most of our lives at least, sacrificing our health in order to make money. And then at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money in order to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. And so what happened with me was I would get all these great jobs, whatever, or at least what I thought were great. And I just, something was missing. Something was missing. And then finally, what I did was this student called me a couple of years ago and said, "Do you want to guest lecture in a business school here in the San Francisco Bay Area?" And I said, "Sure." And I loved it. And I was like, I just want to teach. And I worked in venture capital during the day and I taught during the evenings. And then one of my students who I was mentoring, she worked at Udemy and she said, "Can you, give me some mentoring?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I dropped by her office and I was so impressed with the Udemy business model. It blew me away because Udemy is like Google and everyone else is Bing in the ed tech market. And usually one or two companies dominate. And so I thought to myself, I want to do a venture capital investment in this company. And then I said, screw it. I don't want to do that. I want to teach online. I want to teach online on Udemy and everywhere else as well. And that changed my life. And it was never, ever about the money. It was just about doing something I'm passionate about. I believe that if you chase money, you'll lose your dreams and your money and your happiness. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple times, not only do they come true eventually, but the money follows accidentally. And this was all accidental, and I'm just very humbled and happy to be here.
But that's really interesting because a lot of people might say that,
Yeah.
but they find it very difficult to actually do it. Like
Yeah.
you read a book by the Dalai Lama and some things happened in your life and you sort of followed that advice, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, but you did that and you found out that it was real. Some people chase money till the end of their days.
Yes.
While maybe even saying, well, no, I'm not really chasing money. But you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
And
No, absolutely. Yeah.
You said something to me when I was in California, we were shooting the promotional video, that it's different out there. It's different kind of in that area where you are because people have a different feeling. They have a different attitude about failure.
Yes.
And I think that's something that people are so afraid of. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's so important to be able to live your dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Steve. Thank you. So I think that if we focus, and when I say we, I mean everybody in general, if we focus too much time on caring what other people think of us, we'll always be their prisoner in our minds and we'll never reach the full potential we can reach in life. And the mentality out here is a bit different. On the West Coast here, and this is not just an America thing because 50% of founders in the Bay Area were born overseas. But in the West Coast here, if you fail, it's actually not shameful. It's kind of cool that you try. And on the East Coast where I'm from Toronto. You'll hear my accent. I'll say oot and a boot every now and then. But the East Coast where I'm from, and I used to live and work in New York, if you fail, it's kind of shameful. But if you're successful later in life, it's cool. People forget about failure. In some parts of the world, some countries, if you fail and later in life you're successful, people still only remember the failure. And I think that it's a problem that we all have to kind of encounter, is caring what other people think of us. And if you care what other people think of you, you'll never reach your full potential in life. It is a cultural thing out here on the West Coast. It's an American thing as well, which is, hey man, anybody can make it if you work hard enough. But I just got to a point in my life where I was like, I guess I was insecure earlier when I went to go work at Goldman and went to Wall Street and all that stuff. And I did it for the wrong reasons. But out here, it's failing is cool. And even with my kids, I'm actually proud of my kids and my employees when they try something radically different and they fail. Because if you penalize them for that, then they'll never do anything incredibly innovative.
Yeah, good point, really. So you went to Udemy and you found out that you really enjoyed that and you decided to create your own platform. You wanted to teach on Udemy. What was the hardest struggle that you had? Because I know that there are a lot of people who watch my videos who would like to create courses, would like to create video courses maybe, but they don't really know how to go about it. What were the biggest struggles that you had?
Yeah. I mean, everything. I was so intimidated by everything technology related. I didn't realize that, like, I thought you can just like using an iPhone and take pictures, you can take a video like that. I didn't understand there was an absolute science behind the video, audio, as well as lighting and everything, as well as the teleprompter process. I was just really, really confused. And I was scared to go off onto manual mode. I wore the shirt for you today, and you're my Yoda, my hero. So, but I wish I'd kind of met somebody like you, by the time I started doing it online, because it's not easy. And a lot of people think it's just like taking a picture, like using an iPhone or an Android handset. It's not. It is so complicated. And whenever I go see a movie now, I stay through the credits, just in awe of the hundreds of people required to make that, an hour and a half motion picture. It is tough to do. It is tough to do. And I'm very glad I met you, because you really simplified the process for me.
I do the same thing. I always stay through the credits, and it always strikes me that it's a small army that they put together,
Yes.
When they do that.
It's amazing.
So, much have you learned? I mean,
Yeah.
your setup
Yeah.
now. What are you shooting with right now?
Yeah.
What is this
Yeah.
camera? I'm just
Yeah.
using a little webcam. What are you
Yeah.
using?
No. So I'm using a Canon C300 Mark II. It's a great camera. It's amazing.
A very good camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what? What's interesting is that I find that it's not about and I feel kind of dumb mentioning this, because you're like way above me at this stuff. But it's not about the quality of the equipment. It's how well you use it. And when I first talked to you, you'd mentioned that you're using a microphone, not the Blue Yeti you're using right now, but you have a microphone that you bought in 2003, and it still works great because you know exactly how to use it. And so it's not about spending as much money as you can on equipment. It's more so, do you know how to use the equipment? And so I have an older 2012 camera, Canon Mark III 5D. And I'm much better at that than this camera here, because I've been using it for years. Yeah.
Right. You get used to something, it gets more fun to
Yeah.
use, more. Yeah. You see the good results from it, and it's like that encourages
Yeah.
you to keep using it.
Totally.
Okay. So as you started making these videos and these video courses, I just wanted to ask you, what was, like, when you started getting going on this stuff, what were some of maybe the surprising things you really didn't expect might be a challenge or might be easier than you thought, or that sort of thing, surprising things?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things confused me, like the sound quality. I didn't understand why I was hearing an echo when I would do it in certain rooms, because when I spoke to people in those rooms, I didn't hear an echo at all. And then I learned about putting furniture in the rooms or blankets on the wall, or the audio foam. Another thing that really confused me is lighting. I thought I could just use any old lights I wanted to. And then you taught me about the key light on one side and the fill light to fill in the rest of the key light, and the hair light as well behind me for that 3D pop. And you've got incredible purple colors went on the background there, and I copied you with this blue light here. There's a science to lighting, there's a science to video, there's a science to audio, and we're not even talking about scripting of things as well. And so it really is complicated, and there's so much to learn, and you certainly make it very easy to understand. And I wanted to teach with you so badly this course, because when one teaches, two learn. And I've learned so much partnering with you. Thank you.
I like that. One teaches, two learns. So, all right. So I think I understand a little bit why you wanted to teach. How long was it before you actually left your full-time career and started teaching full-time on Udemy? How long did that transition take?
Yeah, so I started teaching on Udemy. I went to a Tony Robbins event, which changed my life. And I actually met him, and he's a great guy and all that stuff. Met him outside of business too. But that was October 2015. And I went to that event, and he kind of helped me, along with 10,000 other people. It was in LA, it was a massive event, understand something was missing in my life. I wasn't being fulfilled. And so he had us write down our goals and a deadline date for those goals as well. And I started teaching around that time online. I said, I love this so much. I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, and I need to do this full time. You know, Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. And for me, it was just teaching. I felt alive. I kind of felt like, you know, when you hold your child for the first time, you have this unbelievable amount of euphoria or joy in your heart you never thought you could feel, right? It's a new feeling. That's what it feels like to a lesser extent, but that's kind of what it feels like to do what you love doing every day in your life. And that's euphoria I felt every second I was teaching. And so it took me a couple of months. And then I started teaching online, and everything just took off. And I'm very humbled to say that Business Insider and a bunch of other publications started writing about my stuff. And I never did it for the money. I did it because I absolutely love doing it. And if you follow your heart and you don't care what anybody else says or thinks about you, you'll go much farther than you ever thought you could.
I think those are particularly wise words. If you don't care about what anyone else thinks about you,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
sometimes we think that's the case, but
Yeah.
we don't act that way.
Yeah.
Um, so so we just finished this course. We just
Yeah.
finished creating this course together, and I'm curious now that we've had just a moment to breathe. What in that course was surprising to you, that you learned as we were working together? Was there
Yeah.
anything, or were you all
Yes.
set at that point?
No, are you kidding me? Dude, you should see my first course. It's brutal compared to this most recent one. This thing is a masterpiece of epic proportions compared to my earlier courses, at least, please. But I learned a lot about lighting. I learned about adding color. I also learned about bokeh. I didn't even know what that meant, which is portrait mode, I guess, on an iPhone or Android handset. You taught me that word. I didn't know what that meant this year. I didn't know what f-stop was. I was confused by f-stop. This confused me like physics class in high school, until you demystified it and made it simple for me to understand. You're very good at breaking things down and making them easy to understand. I also learned a lot about editing. Like if you have multiple cameras running at the same time, instead of re-recording a shot, you just kind of redo it quickly and just go to the B camera, wherever it might be, that sort of thing. I learned about filming outdoors from you. We did that great drone shot up here in the hills in La Honda, California. I learned about audio with you. You taught me when we were doing the promotional trailer and you're out here, that you always listen to audio right before you're about to record to test it out, kind of like we did 5 minutes before we started this call together. I learned how to prepare. I learned how to just do everything video-wise and audio-wise. I didn't really have any sort of methodology or process until I met you.
Hmm. I think that's why your students like you so much, because you just, you go through the process and you drink through the fire hose, but
Oh,
you absorb it all. I think, didn't you tell me that there were a couple of videos you did for this course where you had 9 separate cameras
I
to
did.
record one video?
I did. It was crazy. This is the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. And I've always been over my head on any project. This one was unbelievable. It was crazy, to the extent that, and I used this analogy before with you, and I have to mention it to your viewers, especially because you're a pilot, licensed pilot. I kind of felt like this course, there was so much to it that when we first started working on it, we threw a ton of airplane parts over the edge of a cliff, and we were looking over the cliff, and we jumped off and we had to assemble that airplane before we hit the ground. It was just the most ambitious thing I've ever done. And I can't believe it's over. And it's bittersweet for me, because it's like when you finish a good book, you're proud of yourself for finishing, you put it up on your shelf, but you miss it too. Like I really enjoyed working with you, and I learned so much. It was great.
Well, me too. I learned a lot too, and it was, whoops, I forgot to plug that light in. It evidently was working off a battery and it just went out.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good for effect.
It's good for effect. Yeah, it makes the background more dramatic, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, no, these ones are plugged in, so they probably won't go out. But see, you just never know what will happen when things are live. Um, so, all right. So now that it's wrapped up, I mean, I learned a lot too, Chris. I mean, I had to actually kind of upgrade um, my own skills, and I completely redid this space that you're looking at now. It used to be kind of a very cushy study, and now it's a full-blown
It looks
pro
great.
editing
I
room.
love the prosumer camera there and that little film cutter thing in the middle shelf right over there. It's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, that was my favorite thing in film school. So, so what would you now that you've done this course, you've done like 50 courses, but what even on this one because it was a big one,
Mhm.
what would you do differently, like from the beginning?
Oof. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, it was so comprehensive. I mean, we unboxed 100 different products, or re-unboxed, I should say, and explained how to use everything from scratch. I don't know if I would have done anything differently because I learned so much through
Mm,
the whole process. But setting a deadline date, we were able to finish it. Without that deadline date, I think I probably would have taken a couple years to do it. I've never worked this hard in my life. It's incredibly rewarding now that it's done, but again, it's bittersweet because I do miss the whole process. It was fun. I wish it was instead of 27 hours. I wish it was like 200 hours.
yeah,
But
I think you're
yeah,
experiencing something that actors experience after the run of a
hmm,
long show, and
interesting.
and the show is over. There's
Yeah.
always like 2 weeks
Huh.
where they're just like wandering around at loose ends, like, who am I? What
Yeah,
am I
yeah,
going to do
yeah.
now?
So you lose your identity because you lived it for so long. It's
Yeah,
interesting,
yeah.
fascinating.
And I think I have to say, I agree with you about the deadline. And I want to just emphasize this to everyone else too.
Mm,
I think when you're doing something really big, you cannot let that deadline slide, or
yes.
it will just. There's usually when you set a deadline, you just do what you can, being even slightly unreasonable to hit that deadline. Just as long as you hit that deadline, you can always add to it. And I plan on adding things to this course as we go. I'm going to do some things, I think, with Android and with smartphone filming and stuff like that. But and so those will periodically go up there because video technology never seems to sit still anymore. I mean, the only constant is change when it comes to
Mhm.
video technology, and this is a video technology course.
Yeah.
Um, so don't worry, we'll keep putting stuff up there.
Yeah, I was so let's see, I was so over my head in this thing. I felt like so James Cameron, who's gone way over budget on many movies before and almost
Mm,
destroyed his net worth. He basically said, set your goals so high that if you fail, you still fail above everyone else's expectations. Can I share one thing with you? I'm so
yeah,
sorry. I've got to do this. Okay. All right. I'm making a fool of myself. You can laugh at me here.
no,
But
no,
but I
with you.
yeah. This is a fake. I'm a fraud. Uh, this is for one of my courses, just a prop. But I feel that whenever you set goals in life, and I'll explain what this is in a second and why I have it. But whenever you set goals, you got to vocalize these goals and set a deadline date. Otherwise, they won't come true. And for example, 90% of people that have New Year's resolutions give up on the New Year's resolutions by the third week of January because they don't set a deadline date. And so for me, my goal, and you helped me out tremendously with this, and hopefully we can stand up on that stage one day in the Kodak Theater. My goal is within 10 years, I want to get an Academy Award. And I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to get an Academy Award for Best Business Documentary that will make the world a better place somehow. And without doing this course with you, this would not be possible. And there's so much that goes into making a movie. And so right here, you see these 5 film canisters, circles. These are the 5 original branches of the Academy. Acting, directing, producing, the technical stuff and whatnot. There's so much that goes into this. And so this is when I was a kid, I used to have posters in my wall of cars I wanted. Now I have this. Anyway, so that's me visualizing a goal. That's my um, anyway, putting myself out there, maybe making a fool of myself, but now I got to make it happen. Set my goals here. Maybe I'll achieve this. Yeah.
Sign me up. I wouldn't mind standing up there with you accepting the Oscar.
No, for
I'll
sure.
I'll let
I'm,
I'll
yeah.
let you actually accept the Oscar
No,
from
Joe, I'll let you do the
whoever
speech. I'm
gets
gonna be nervous, man. Please. Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask you what your vision of the future is, but I know that's not the only thing. I
Yeah.
know you have actually even a bigger vision than that. You don't have to
Yeah.
share it now if you don't want to,
Okay.
because
No,
I
no,
know that.
no, no. I'd love to. I'd love to. So I gave a TEDx talk on how I believe that TEA can fix every problem in the world: technology, education, and acceptance. And I think education fixes every issue in the world. I don't think that we need to send troops overseas to fight wars we can't understand or ever win. I think that education can nip it in the bud early on. I look at people like Malala, who's one of my many heroes in life, and what has she's been able to do, inspiring a lot of young women overseas and globally, just to stand up to oppression so that there's equal rights to education globally. And she taught us. She's a teacher. And I believe what's going to happen in the future is you're going to have millions of people rise up in different countries over YouTube and teach online. And it's a beautiful thing, because for the first time in history, we can all get access to education for free online, for free through using YouTube, or you can pay money for more comprehensive, longer courses like ours, for example. But I'm really excited about the future, because the walls have come down in terms of who can get access to education. Now it's available to everybody online.
And education really in every part of your life.
Yes. Yes.
Physical, mental, spiritual,
Yes.
whatever. Anything you want to try to do, anything that you have I don't know. It's just, yeah, I think the sky's the limit.
Yes.
Literally.
Anybody can do it. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. You can always retool and learn how to program online. I got an interesting statistic for you. Since 1950, people are living 26 years longer today than they did then. So everybody watching this webcast, you're all 26 years younger than you think you are. And you can all retool and go online and learn new skills through online education and start over. That's exciting.
I think a lot of people who are listening to this, watching this, will be around for the singularity.
Yes.
They'll be able to live forever and keep learning forever.
I think so. I think that there are people on this webcast right now watching that will live to 150. Absolutely, without a doubt. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, given all the diseases that are being eradicated, due to, Bill Gates and his wonderful wife, Melinda, and things are amazing. Things are amazing. If you just tune out some of the negative media and just focus on the positives, this is the best moment of human prosperity in history. I'm excited about the future. And the cornerstone of that will be education online.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, guys. Well, you may not have heard it here first, but you certainly heard it here most eloquently from Chris Haroun. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a real blast. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this and will get something out of it and take this knowledge forward and go do something really great.
Awesome. And Steve, I just want to, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your video and audio and filmmaking expertise with me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. It was an honor and a pleasure working with you. And especially the time that we shared in California, making that amazing video up in the hills of La Honda and out behind my hotel on that bridge. That was a lot of fun too.
That was awesome. Yes. Yes. It worked out well. It was fun. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it for me for now, guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on The Visible Authority. So long.